Hello and welcome. Assuming everything's working, but I'm not quite sure. Hopefully it is. Well, it is, of course, not the usual day. It is Tabletop RPG Tuesday. Hopefully it is all. I've had one slight error, I suppose, and I'm not sure how to actually test it. So, I suppose that means we won't test it. Because I don't know how. That's what we have conscripts for. Anyway, it is, of course, Tabletop RPG Tuesday, which is, the first time I'm saying that. So I'm not sure. I'm like, of course it is, because this is the first time it's ever been that. But here we are. As usual, I am your host, Casimir Basilius, Lord in the Grand Empire, and all that. The usual business. Well, the only thing different is the day. As I said on earlier, well, on a thing, that I would be here on Tuesday for a variety of reasons. Probably because we missed our news stream on Monday. So, we're also late in uploading our previous solo Sunday video, which I suppose we're doing here, sort of. I mean, this is not the previous one, but let's not ramble so soon. Um, so, I am, of course, ever so slightly late because, well, we don't usually do this on Tuesday, and I was working on Galactic Requiem. It's almost as if that's what I do always. Yes. Um, but basically I was just working on how you say costs, values of chartering starships. Basically making sure that's all right. Was giving a quick look at the nation rules, unrelated to chartering starships. Somewhat. I mean, the two things I was working on were unrelated. Technically, you can charter starships using the nation rules, but that was unrelated to the chartering of starships costs. I just wanted to make sure all the costs were right. So, also need to work on tags for nations, random economic variance for, well, a different kind of GMing, which is galactic management. It's not a thing for players, really. I mean, we have nation management for players. Galactic management, specifically there for the GM to manage galactic events without having to worry about, well, just an easy way to manage galactic events, How's the trade in the sector? I mean, we have ways of calculating it, but they're very specific, very granulated. You would need to generate a stat block and figure out what the full numbers are and figure all that out to manage galactic things. Then on a galactic scale, you'd have to do that a lot, a lot. It would take a long time. Like, point is, trying to find a quick way to go about that takes some work and thinking. Working a bit on that, unrelated to the other two things. And then, of course, there's all the other work we have to do. We have to actually gather the news within any given week. By the way, it's all active. Like we can't use last week's news this week, As we missed Monday, that news is gone. That news is gone. Gonna have to get new news. Have to be up to date, which is difficult because we have a total of like 3 conscripts that we can allocate to the whole business. I mean, we have more conscripts, but I just can't allocate them due to, other important imperial business. So we have 3 conscripts who are qualified. 2 conscripts here with me right now who manage the the broadcast, and then one conscript who's qualified to actually work on the devices and Elysian tech. So, anyway, we'll do a little bit more rambling before we get into it. We will be rolling dice today, of course, but I like taking it slow, and we'll try and keep rambling to a minimum, but there will be a bit more. So, um, yeah, working on rules and stat blocks. Mostly need to work on stat blocks. I wish there was an easier way to generate stat blocks. I mean, I say that, but I literally made an easier way to generate nation stat blocks. It just needs more definition. Everything always needs more definition. One realizes when you're writing and making rules that everything needs clarification. Because while it may be clear to you right now, it may not always be clear to you. And by to you, I mean to me, you know, I'm talking in, sort of a third, second, some sort of non-first person aspect where you means me. Just because I write something rules wise and think of it as working a certain way, I really should note down exactly how it works and certain definitions. Sometimes you forget to write down how it works because you think it's so obvious. And other times you write it all down and you write down the rules, but then you realize, hey, I completely forgot about this little aspect, which is what happens a lot specifically with the hacking rules. The hacking rules they work, they're all written down, and it is still obvious to me how it works. It needs a bit of clarification for players, but sometimes I'll look at it and I'm like, okay, I wrote it like this, and I didn't cover this one aspect. How do these definitions work together to meet this specific situation? And so, lots of work to do, items to write down. As I said before, statting items and characters, not really statting, but not really statting characters. That's just time consuming. Statting items is annoying, specifically reformatting all the stuff, but we've been over that. I explained why. It's because it's just tedious work. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to actually roll the dice. So, with just a little further ado, what else is there? Let's bring up our sheet. So yeah, I was just working on contracting starships, FTL route travel, the fact that trade is limited. Ooh, did I note that? So, I am, as they say, disorganized. I am trying to be more organized, but in my organization, I made a little error. And that is, I mean, it's not really an error, it's a thing I have to work with. And that thing I have to work with is basically, in short, if I can get my thoughts together while working on that, I have files and, of course, backup files. Basically, an online and offline variant and then additional backups. Problem being, I have to save all of my online edits onto the offline variant because I don't fully transfer the online file into an offline file until I meet a certain threshold. So I just have to basically copy and paste and do everything twice. But I have to remember, I mean, I don't have to do it all twice, I just have to copy and paste it all. But I do have to remember when I do something to put the secondary work in the other variant of the file, which I nearly forgot for calculating trade distances. Because you don't really want to trade far, lore-wise. Like, sure, You can travel the galaxy and all that, but shipping costs. That's why we were working on contracting starships, by the way. I was calculating shipping costs. But shipping costs basically, you don't want to ship long distance. The price goes up and up and up the further you ship. So basically, you want to ship within a sector, give or take. You really don't want to ship for more than 150 light years with a times one drive, but technically you don't want to ship more than 6 or 7 days. Because, I mean, if you ship for 6 days, you're adding 150 credits per ton. And the way the galactic economy works is you're always going to round up for the final price of an object. So even if you're shipping something worth, like, I'd have to bring up my calculator. Because if you think we don't have the prices of, here we are, vehicle parts listed, of course we do. But let's go with electronic parts because they're easier to calculate. So it's about 20 credits per unit, 500 units per ton, 10,000 credits per ton. So you look at 10,000 credits per ton, plus 150 credits for 6 days transit. So you look at 10,150, but then you're dividing that by 500, which brings you to about 20.3 units, 20.3 value per object instead of 20, but that 0.3 rounds up to 1. So you're looking at additional dollar per every single object, assuming we're not adding additional fees, because transit is additional day in or out of system, which is going to be additional 2, bringing it up to 200. Still not going to probably bring it up, but some corporations will be like, well, shipping, just because we're going to round it by that doesn't mean we're not going to throw the entire cost, because corporations. So it's not always just rounded up like 0.3 goes to $21. Corporations might be like, well, we charge $1 per day, even though it's, more than that actual transit, well, less than that actual transit, but they might charge you additional $1 per day for the value of the item, making it $26, which adds up if you're buying in bulk, because it's going to have to be bought by a group, like a shop more than likely, who's going to then sell it at an even more increased markup and all that. So in short, it goes up by a lot, even if it's a small amount, unless you're being, like absolutely just, unless you're being unoptimal from a capitalist standpoint. If you're being uneconomical, you could, I suppose, sell in bulk and just charge minimum 10,050, 10,150 for all 500 parts. Or, if you're any capitalist, you're going to be like, okay, 20.3, there's no such thing as 0.3 of a credit. Every single one is $21. Well, 21 credits per thing. Even then, that's still kind of you, given that some corporations, as I said, will be like $1 per day per every single object shipped. Like, they will do their best to charge what is economically viable and tack on whatever costs are possible. And depending on the market, that might work. So long distance shipping, I suppose you could theoretically do it longer if you're being kind, but you're just going to be undercut. Or even if you are not undercut, they'll buy you out. If you show up, let me put it this way. If you think you're going to show up and be like, hey, I'm charging $21 per object, you know what the corporation's going to do? They're going to buy your object for cheap. And then they're going to sell it at a higher price. It's not going to come to the end. You're not going to, like, basically, You're going to, I suppose, make a profit, but you're just losing money because they're just going to buy it and make more. But I suppose you're still making money. But that's not even considering the fact that, like, technically, if you're shipping, like as a major shipper or a freelancer, if you're doing bulk, you're probably not going to have your expenses covered. Then again, even if you're shipping for someone, you're not going to have full price, are you? You're going to be gaining like shipping value, meaning you are absolutely making about say $150 from the shipping cost. Like per ton, you're making $150 theoretically. That's like what they might pay you. They might pay you less. Anyway, all sorts of economic stuff. Look, I'm not the best at the economic stuff. I'm an imperial lord. We've been over this. All I need to do is withdraw one credit unit from my own nation that I have 10, yeah, 10 for one credit unit, 10 billion galactic standard credits. Like, and my loyalty goes down by like one. I could draw multiple credit units. Like, it's not like I need to worry about the economics. So it's not like I really focus on that. I have people for that. Anyway, let's actually get to the rolling of dice. It is, of course, World Building Wednesday. No, no, I'm sorry. Tabletop RPG Tuesday. Got used to the rambling, thinking it was World Building Wednesday. Also, it's Wednesday's tomorrow. So, you know, kind of throws me off a bit. As we've never actually, I don't think never, but, you know, we basically never stream on Tuesday. So it's just like Thursday for me. You can tell because anyone who knows math and knows the fact that we have exactly 7 days a week and 4 weeks in a month, and that every first is a Monday, every 8th is a Monday, every 16th, I believe. Basically, every the 4 Mondays in a you get the point. But yeah, you can always see that by our little calendar in the left, which tells us when it is. Of course, it's the last 4 digits of the galactic year. It doesn't actually relate to your time. It's not like I've been over this before too, but it's not like we're 5,000 and some odd years in your future. If you want to be technical, timeline wise, because like Elysia is a different dimension. Well, technically, Elysia is not even you guys. Dimensions are complex. We don't really deal with them. We're here. Everything Galactic Requiem doesn't really deal with dimensions or anything. For the most part. Like, almost never. There's just a few cases, like my faction, the Grand Dimensional Empire. We travel via dimension. We travel to different dimensions, conquering them. But that's neither here nor there. Point is, they just call us the Grand Empire because we've been here since before most of major civilizations, and we don't really travel dimensions often. It's not like a thing that happens, you know? It's just sort of a background thing, you know? I mean, we broadcast multidimensionally to all of you out there, not from our universe or dimension. But other than that, it's not really dimensional. So, yeah, there's not really dimensional travel in Galactic Requiem for the most part. I mean, you know, unless you consider FTL layers dimensions, but we don't. That's not how that works. So, I mean, there's also realms, but realms are their own different thing, technically. We're not going to get into the deep lore of all that. No, no, no. In short, we're not like 5,000 years in your future. If you want to be technical, that date right there in our corner translates to like 12/12/2023 in your Elysian dates or something like that, I believe. So, you know, like they are simultaneously happening. It's not like we're in the future or anything. We're just an alternate dimension that has its own calendar, you know? Also, it's like 12 billion or something. Our laws of physics work ever so slightly differently. I mean, of course, we have like magic and casters and psionics and all that, and FTL. Our laws of physics work slightly differently. But, oh gosh, here we go. Ramble time. That's why in Galactic Requiem, you can see all sorts of fun stellar remnants, like black dwarves, which you don't have in your universe, because the time it would take for a white dwarf to cool into a black dwarf is longer than your universe has existed. Therefore, your universe does not currently contain any black dwarfs, even though they are scientifically a thing that occurs. You just don't have any because your universe has not lasted long enough for them to exist. Also, unlike your universe, as I stated, our laws of physics work slightly differently. Matter, something something created and destroyed, that's not what we're talking about. Matter keeps appearing, sort of, kind of, not in vast quantities. It's sort of stable. Then again, we do have sort of deities and the like that maintain this kind of thing. Also, galactic effects and all that. Like Yog-Sothoth and Azathoth, not deities of the Empire, of course. The Empire doesn't really have deities, but they're giant eldritch entities considered deities out there doing eldritch things. But yeah, basically, we don't have any of that heat death or galactic expansion till you can't travel between things, or galactic crumbling until things crush in on themselves. It's rather stable here. Not every dimension is, but ours, the one that we're currently in, is rather stable. I mean, the Empire, whenever we find one that isn't stable, we will stabilize it using our science and technology. We are tech level 26 plus, meaning we can basically control physics for the most part. But that involves, like, it's not like every Imperial Lord can achieve such technology. It's the higher ups. As as I've been over, I am simply a low level vassal lord, and technically second tier, which is why my status is Dame. I believe below that is Esquire and Gentleman and so forth. And then above that, there's more ranks, but I'm like one up from the lowest tier of Imperial Lord. So, I don't really have access to the good tech. I mean, better than what you can find in the galaxy, but, I can't do any of that fancy shit. I can't alter reality or nothing like that. Well, except for the one device we recovered, our broadcasting device that technically, about to use fourth wall stuff here. The device we broadcast on is what allows us to break the fourth wall and also alter fate and all that. It's risky business, but that's somewhat canonically what the GM bot is. Well, the device gives us access to the GM bot in law, which is basically we can theoretically alter the fate of the universe, sort of, using the device and all that. I suppose since we're rambling, might as well show that. That would be map A or map B? Map A. No, we'll use map, because I'm not on my ship. We'll use this one. So, as per law, here we are. This is where I broadcast from, as per usual. The map needs work. Anyway, The device before me is a multidimensional device that basically is what allows us to broadcast multidimensionally. It's technically restricted technology, if you want to be technical. But, perks of being an Imperial Lord. In short, it's what allows us to break the fourth wall and have access to the GM bot and watch people all throughout the galaxy, such as the adventure Yuliana Aldous, which we follow around. You can theoretically also alter her fate, but, let's be honest. Using a multi-dimensional device that has access to a ability to alter reality is risky. So, we try to keep that at a minimum, lest we anger deities such as Yog-Sothoth or other such eldritch entities, or even the Empire. Honestly, I'm more worried about angering the Empire. What do I have to fear from an eldritch entity? A lot. Sure, I may be an Imperial Lord with ridiculous amounts of power and forces, but I still wouldn't want to anger an eldritch entity. But, I know that the Empire would rally. We can't let an eldritch entity take over an Imperial system. But I fear, let's suppose that did happen. And I had to call in support to help fight off an eldritch entity. The Empire's going to start asking questions. Even if we succeed, they're going to ask questions. And those questions I can't really answer. So, why'd you alter reality? I thought it would be funny. Not really the best excuse. For entertainment purposes, Not really the best defense. I suppose I could say for the betterment of the Empire, but then comes into question, are you authorized to do such things? Sort of, loosely, kind of, you know. Anyway, um, other than that, of course, uh, so we work on all that kind of thing. So where was I? Yeah, the rules for different systems always and still need some work. I just really need to get into the mode of getting it all done. Then I can work on other projects. I need to work on other projects while working on that, but So yeah, next Monday we should have our news video out by then. Our newest news video. Of course, we're gonna have to get the most modern news. But our researchers are on top of it this time. Of course, tomorrow's World Building Wednesday, in which we'll do rambling and world building. And then Miscellaneous Friday, in which we play the game, because we treat that as Solo Sunday for reasons. Anyway, so yeah, long thing short, the date translates to exactly today for you. Well, not exactly today if you're watching this in the future, but like the live time that this is being broadcast, it translates to 1 to 1, you know? Using the Galactic Council, Galactic Standard Calendar and all that. Anyway, like I said, we could, well, like I always say, we could go on for hours and hours covering everything forever about Galactic Requiem, be it from just news stories to gameplay to everything. Actually, when I prepared for this today, I had an idea, but it looks like we're probably not going to achieve it. The idea I had was working on, not working on, but actually playing other stuff, like other Galactic Requiem solo stuff. But it seems sort of, I've already labeled this as part of the series, which is why I gotta stop rambling soon. Because this is technically part of the tabletop series due to its labeling. Also, yeah, it would be weird to switch to some of the characters as we've labeled this. I suppose I could like relabel it or something. Anyway, let's get to the actual gameplay. Sorry, bringing up my files. I also need to fix my audio. It's been absolutely terrible. Not the hearing on my end, but the audio pickup has been terrible, I've noticed. I don't know why. I thought I'd fixed it, but apparently not. And it's weird because I can't always pick it up on my end, but I should be able to. Like, I'll do this, or I'll broadcast and record, and sometimes I'll hear it on my end. Sometimes. But sometimes I won't hear it on my end. Maybe it's my brain tuning it out, but maybe it's just not being picked up on my end for what I can hear. But I notice it coming through on the video, and that's not ideal. So I need to figure out why that is, but I'm not an audio engineer. So, I'm gonna have to get a conscript on that. So, let's see. We, of course, are following Juliana Aldis, a mercenary. Last session, we sort of wandered about the city a little bit. It's been uploaded as a video because I streamed it on a different thing. So it should be uploaded as a video, not part of our live thing, but it's part of the playlist though, so. But we basically wandered about, returned to base, and I suppose we should rest for the rest of the day. And let's increase our action die to full. What else did we need to edit as a day has passed? Probably our training. What? Oh, no. We're in the wrong file. Not really the wrong file, the wrong character in the file. I want to find Juliana Aldis. There we are. Eshadon being our previous character. Pretty sure he's dead. Probably. Not sure. Would have to go back and find out. But he's dead to us, at least. Here we are. Okay, so we're training combat mobility, cast energy reserves. Suppose today goes up by one, technically speaking. Because I'm pretty sure I forgot to do that. I wish we had more casting ability. Because not only do I think casting's a bit fun, but with our new casting system, I just kind of really want to use the new casting system. Of course, for those of you who don't know, it's not really new. It's been there for a while now. But the new casting system is pretty fun because you get methods, effects, and categories. Mostly methods and effects. There's also categories and known things and all that. But you apply it together and you get all sorts of anything, really. Of course, we gave Juliana all this. I don't think it's every. Might be every. I think there's far more effects and a bunch of methods, just loads of effects and methods. Meaning, Juliana all this can mix and match all of these to get basically all sorts of different effects. I say mix and match, but let's be honest, it's a total of 9. Juliana Aldous is not the best caster. Also, she's a tier 2 caster, meaning she's not really a dedicated caster, meaning she doesn't have a lot of energy points to use. But we have a lot of theoretical variability. A real good caster could, like, use force and heat, or electric and heat, or mix and match methods and effects. Given our skill, we can, like, use one method and one effect. We might, no, we couldn't use 2 methods, not with our skill. But, like, we can use a method and an effect, and then interpret it. If you spec into the casting tree and have a lot of ranks in casting, you can, like, have a bolt that leads into a blast. All sorts of stuff like that. But we don't have that. I'm also not really a dedicated hacker, which would be fun too to use. Anyway. So, our adventure, you and Aldous, will rest for the day having the crunchy bits and water. If they're on our sheet, we should remove them now. If we didn't add them, it's fine, because assumedly we were going to use them. So, we'll use our crunchy bits and our flavorless water for today's meal, of course. If we need more food, which we probably do, we'll have whatever they have in the gang cafeteria. After that, let's see. After that, the next day, when our people should be more healed, which we should go to the right map for that. Yeah, well. Yep, after resting for the day and having our food, we're not injured. These two should be healed. And our other mercenary is watching the target. We have lots of options. We do have a plot to hit. At some point, we have to just keep it in mind. Here we are. The plot is yes, mystery. Something's not working. Likely our hoverbike. Crash. Our hoverbike. Prized possession. Our hoverbike. A character is diminished. Something's happened to our hoverbike. That's the expectation we have, probably. Unless the bot flips things on us and throws something else as that, it's likely going to be our hoverbike, which is not ideal for us. We spent a lot of money on that hoverbike. So, 1 second. Okay. So where to begin? Where to actually begin? What is our plan? Well, our orders are to basically hold this subject until a time in which extraction can be arranged. Ideally, if we can find a safe way to extract the target ourselves. However, that's unlikely, and such things are risky, as if we're found out, well, that's not ideal. So, sort of need to look into a way to get the target out, if at all possible. Also, just hold. We get paid either way. We have the target, so they're definitely paying us, as long as we can keep the target safe. Meaning we do need to secure this place a little bit. We also are free, sort of. I mean, it is considered a social faux pas, I believe is the correct term, to take more contracts, more work, to do something other than the contract we've been provided. It's not ideal. Luckily, we're not a mercenary organization, are we? We're freelancers. Still, it's frowned upon. But also, let's be honest, you and Aldous, it's really not a mercenary to be a mercenary. It's not like she's like, my career as a mercenary. She's here for revenge. She's absolutely here for revenge. And money. To achieve that revenge. She doesn't really care what people think about her. Not really, not on a business standpoint. Of course, she doesn't want to absolutely anger the people she works for. Having contacts and contracts is good, and not angering the people you work for is good. But it's not like she's like, oh no, my reputation, you know? Sort of a midline. She's literally just here for revenge. And if making more money on the side is an option, sure. As much as it would be fine. Like, look, we could absolutely just go, hey, let's skip time and just roll on the bot to see if any major events happen while we wait. But the entire point of why we've gone here and sort of manipulated the path to get here is because we want to flesh out a city. So let's explore that city. Let's use the excuse of looking for information, our revenge, and finding a way out of the city and looking for the data to explore. We are also looking for data. We have some data, but we need to, on a degree, do we have the full data? I don't believe we have the data. Where is it? We are looking basically for the target and the data. Assuming I can find it, but apparently not. Another thing we also are doing, theoretically, no, that's, other than our personal revenge and all that, that's the primary objective was the data and the target. We have the target, we don't really have the data as far as I'm knowledgeable. So, let's look for the data. To a degree, it's going to be exceptionally hard to find, but we'll do what we can. I know where to start for leads. We are going to ask what happened to the crew. There might have been some dead there, but at the ship. I forget whether they were dead or not at the ship, but it's not like we can go back up to the ship. So we're gonna have to ask around if anybody saw anything and the like. So the next day we'll gather more information. Let's see. What can a contact do? That's another thing that needs a little bit of clarification, rules-wise, I believe. I'll have to double check our contact rules. Luckily, it's in this book. The book I already had open. Not the file you see, the books I used to run this. Most of the time, reputations, fames, influence, allegiance, contacts. Here we are. Did we lower the... That's what I intended to do. Did I not do that? Hmm. Did I not do that? This is going to annoy me. Mm-hmm. That's for that. Forgive me. This is one of those moments where I distinctly remember working on a thing. Absolutely remember working on a thing. Hmm. What's the difficulty? So I see a part of it I worked on. I suppose I should use my words or something. So, contacts. Contacts are people you have and lists that you can acquire favors and things from. They basically assist you. You can increase all of their stats. They have three stats, technically. Like, they of course have full character stats, but contacts have three stats that you can contact them with. These three stats are grade, disposition, and resource. A contact's grade is how well you and the contact know each other. The disposition is much like their attitude towards you. Everybody has an attitude towards you. And then resource is not how many resources they have in total, it's how many resources they are willing to use on you. All these stats can be increased or decreased with use and all that. Like if you do your contact a favor, it might increase their grade, disposition, or resource depending on what kind of favor. If you give your contact a lot of value, that might increase their resource score. If you do a mission for them to get them a facility, that might increase their resource score that they're willing to spend on you, et cetera, et cetera. So like those can go up and down depending on all sorts of factors. But contacting of, well, contact is something I thought I edited, but apparently not. Reaching a contact. Mm-hmm. Okay. I need to check one thing. My apologies for this. It's going to bug me the entire time if I don't check it. Wait for the file to load. Go over to our index. Today. Thank you. Go over to the skill that governs contacts. There we go. Zoom in because the text is at 0.6 font. Here we are. Okay. Equal to the listed time. Okay, so it should just draw from resource. That is the way that should work. Everything a contact does, if you can contact them, draws from resource. Contacting them is almost always guaranteed unless you fail the roll. Technically, even if you fail the roll. Once you contact them, whether they'll help you or not is based on your resource, I suppose. Yeah, because your resource is how much they're willing to get you. Which, by the way, goes from 1 to 20, and 20 being 160,000 credits worth of assistance. Of course, requesting that as something that's permanent, like money-wise, decreases your rating by an amount. For instance, if you show up to your contact and are simply like, hey, I need 160,000 Galactic Standard credits, they're not going to like that. It's just going to lower stats with them. But if you're like, hey, you happen to have this, can I borrow this thing that's worth an amount less than that? And I'll give it back. Then you're likely not going to diminish your power with them. It's not going to go down. Now, if you get it destroyed, then yeah, maybe it'll go down, and etc. But okay. So our contact is wait, wait. There should be a failure modifier. There should be a failure modifier more than just that. Hmm. With failure, a failure by 5 or 10. 5 to 10. No, 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 because we'll move that over to willing to use times raise of resource. Mm-hmm. What's the actual willingness? Because there should be a way to calculate that. So, welcome to me working on Galactic Requiem. This is what happens. Um, Not on our usual solo Sundays. We usually just ramble, but what I mean, like, this is what usually happens when we work. Um, Favors 10 to 30 DC. Here, we have 15 to 30. I suppose reaching them is different than achieving the goal. No, a contact is willing to give their resource. Generally, a contact is willing to give their resource worth. Okay. So as long as you can reach them, you should be able to theoretically make a request at the cost of the number going down. Okay, good enough. What is our rating with our contact? A mercenary networker, meaning what they can do for us is somewhat limited. They're a tier 1 contact being the lowest. They have resource 5. And being a merc contact networker, there's not a lot they can actually do for us. There's quite a bit, but like, it's mostly getting other people to do stuff for us. And we can request 10,000. Not, we can request $10,000, technically speaking, but like, far easier to request things worth roughly that much. So we can get like a few assault rifles. We can ask them for a step above, but it would lower it by 1. If we take direct cash or direct resource, the resource value drops by 1d4. If resource drops to 0 or below, the contact's disposition tier lowers. And the resource stays at 1, but the disposition gets worse. And the disposition can change their grade. And eventually, if that everything gets to 0, they stop being willing to assist you. It's not ideal. You could also have a contact that's an enemy, technically. Disposition goes to -6 adversarial. So technically, you could, like, theoretically, have a contact that basically owes you, or was willing to work with you but doesn't like you. Anyway, um, nothing we really need to request right now, I suppose, but it's something to keep in mind. So let's... One second. So let's head out into the city. We won't be taking our allies with us. Where do we want to go? Do we want to simply ask around? Yes. Not really. We'll ask the gang to ask around for us. We have no real ability to ask around. Well, is that even true? Here we are. We could take 10 or 20, but it would take a long time to do. Hmm. Will the gang do that for us? What we'll do... I think we'll sneak to, we'll head north. Oh, wrong map. I think we'll head north to this gang's territory and simply see if there's anything we can find there, like, that is of any use. I mean, we have our weapons, we have our gear. The gang's gonna be asking around. That's a rival gang, sort of. So we'll go there because we're not technically part of this gang. And we'll see if there's anything we can find out. See if there's any side missions, anything. So we'll take our bike out because this is going to be a ways away. And yes, I do remember that the bike theoretically might crash. We're not allowed to act on that information. And the bike might not crash. It might not be bike crash. Could be something else. As I say, depends on what the bot wants. We will, of course, take this road. Because this road should be too wide, I just didn't get around to doing it. There we are. Perfect. So, riding the bike out of the major arcology area towards the industrial district, Juliana Aldis will pass by, well, through the somewhat narrow corridors. Of course, it's not like there's giant buildings around us. There are giant buildings around us, but we are in an enclosed underground section. It's more like being in tunnels than being out in the open. You can't really look up. I mean, if you look up, what you'll probably see is metal and lights. You know? That's the downside of being underground. It's just metal and lights. I have a different lead. It's a risky lead, but I just thought of another lead. We got the contact from a specific building one map over. Specifically, they were taken by the government, and the government was trying to extract them from the location themselves. It's been enough time that it should be safe to go back there. It's been like a day, 2 days. halfway through our path to the northern gang, we'll change that ideas come to us. We'll make a hard right and head over to the arcology. The one we raided. Yeah, well. One quick thing I need to check. Three of them survived. They're likely not still here. Probably. They might be, but it's unlikely. Even if they are stuck in the city, which is unlikely, given that they had extraction more than likely, they would likely leave the safe house that was seen and all that. So, arriving on a hover bike, I suppose I should grab the hover bike. That would be this map. Nope, it's this one. Nope, it's this one. Yes, that's the problem with naming maps. At least my naming of maps not being ideal. There we are. Send to back. And we will park it underground, nowhere near here. Specifically just in underground parking. Before making our way back towards the arcology. Of course, our allies and the target are no longer here. I believe I'm confident in going alone. I mean, we'll be fine, probably. We don't need our allies. That's the great thing about tabletop RPGs, especially if you run them like a world. We can hire anybody, theoretically. Like, obviously, we can't hire anybody, but we can hire mercenaries if we need. We can bring our allies with us. There's so many solutions to problems. For instance, what can we do? We could try and go in through maintenance tunnels and vents. We could walk in the main door. We could simply ask around. We can do whatever. And the way the bot works is, theoretically, any of it could work. Theoretically. The bot, of course, uses our interpretation and yes, nos, and so forth, and statistics and things. So, like the bot might say there isn't a ventilation shaft that gets there, but the bot might say yes. Most things can happen. Let's see. Let us make a gather information check ourselves. If we take 10, this time let's be smart. Let's remember that we live in space. And by that, I mean let's activate our AI. We also have a neural data pad. When connected to the net, gives us a +2. Meaning we'll be making the check at a +4. Maybe. Sorry, forgot one little bit of rules. I forget whether a data net provides a +2 or a +4 at base. It'll be real easy to find. I just need like half a second. It's, loosely important because it's part of our check we're about to make. That's also the great thing of this way we run the system. I mean, not right this second, but the fact that skills and feats are trainable. As we went over when we were picking our new trainings, you can buy training, you can download training, you can do all that sort of stuff, which can be super useful for, well, being good at multiple things. We could train up our ability to talk to people. We could also just hire somebody to ask around for us, which would make this so much easier. But we didn't, and that would cost money. We can probably afford the feat that we could probably afford a feat download that actually makes it easier to talk to people, but it would cost us almost all of our money, if not more than we have. I know it'd be like, this is a loose guess, by the way, 50 to 100,000 Galactic Standard credits. I believe since it's a skill one, it's going to be 100,000 Galactic Standard credits or something like, maybe even 200. I have to double check the book. I'm not going to look right now, but point is, it would cost, theoretically, the majority of our money to more than we have. Here we are. Networks. We're not looking for networks. We're looking for hacking bonuses. Not really hacking bonuses, net bonuses, if you want to be technical. Network. +2 on skill checks, plus an additional +2 with an AI assistant for a total of +4. It's a +6 on knowledge checks. This isn't a knowledge check, so it's a flat +4. Not every skill check can be used, but it's technically one that can, so +4 -1 for a total of 1d20 +3 to gather info. Go over to our dice roller. This +3, 6. That is terrible. How bad is that? Um, with success, where's with failure? No information gathered. Okay, I will be right back though. It is time for coffee. We return. The coffee is being prepared. Here we are. There we go. Everything should be back in order for the most part. Sort of. Kind of. Here we are. So, where were we? Oh yes, failing with a total of 6. How fun. I just want to point this out. I could have taken 10. I chose not to. I mean, at this point, I regret that, but I could have taken 10. I could have even taken 20 and had a total of 23. That was an option. Of course, if we took 20, it would have taken many hours to gather the information. If we took 10, it would have taken a number of hours, but less than taking 20. And right now, it's going to take a few hours, and we're going to gain nothing. So, sometimes you want to consider that kind of thing before you make poor choices. Not ideal. As we basically, oh, I should probably get the words to go away. As I was saying, we could have taken 20, would have made things a lot better. We didn't. 6 hours. We ask around the mega building for 6 hours, which is fair. I mean, it's an oncology block. Like, it's a big oncology block. These, by the way, are the big rooms. These are the fancy rooms. I mean, they're not the fanciest rooms, I'll be honest. But these are considered high quality premium rooms, you know? Where is it? I can show off the other one if I can open the right thing to find it. A, B, C. Here we are. Yeah. Here. Is this the right? Nope, one more. Here we are. As you can see, this is the standard room throughout most of the galaxy. The most standard template room. You want something small, cheap, standard? This is what you're going to get. A 20 by 20 little one room, one bathroom. Doesn't even have a kitchen. Like, it's not the best, but it'll do. You want a normal place? Sort of like a house-ish? I mean, of course you can buy houses. It's not like those aren't a thing. They are. They just, if you want to buy a house, you probably have to spend a few million credits. And you're probably not going to buy a house anywhere near a city, Unless you're lucky. Well, there's political reasons. Some places have low property value near cities. Like, for instance, where are we? This is just for fun. Yeah, well, the houses here, those are standard houses. They're not actually in this area. They're in the above ground variant, but they would be low in value due to the fact that they'd be higher than, don't get me wrong, they cost more than being in an oncology block, but they cost less than, say, a house elsewhere. It really depends because they're near one of the worst parts of the city, filled with gang activity, near the underground industrial section. Like, it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but it's still a house in a city, So it's going to be a bit more. than you would expect. But, I mean, then again, you can probably inherit a house. Need to finish making the coffee, 1 second. Theoretically, like, you know, you can pass down your property and all that. Let's see. We actually have a thing for starting with property and investing in property and all that kind of thing. But, I mean, you know, like, what does it cover? The lifestyle stuff. Spending cash, possessions, and property and all that. But that's all from our Life and Society guidebook. Here we are. Living costs? Nope. Nope. Buying a house. Here we are. Oh gosh. Heavily economy and location based. Base prices listed for light to medium density worlds ranges from minus 75% to plus 500%. Something is wrong. Not in the numbers. I could have sworn. No, that's listed under lodging per day. Okay. I had thought I made a list of certain things, and I'm like, where's that list? It's a different section. Small condominium is like 120,000 to 350,000 credits, not including price modifiers like being in a city, which can increase that by like 500%, and that's the standard increases. Like, 2 million galactic standard credits. Oh god. That is something I need to do though. Specifically, I need to go in and specify what each scale means. Currently, the list is pulled from a different list, and that list is just like small condominium, small house, large house, small mansion, medium mansion, large mansion. But it needs to be specified into exactly, well, not really exactly, but, you know, loosely how many rooms, how many square feet, how many blocks, etc. each one represents. That needs to be done, but so that needs to be, you know, figured out. I didn't think that, but I never thought of adding that to the list of things that needed to be done. Because for renting lodging per day, we have it listed. The cheapest is a 10 by 20 in a standard location or a 20 by 20 in a bad location. So, like, literally the one I showed you. Nope, we're looking for raid. Yeah, well, so yes, this 20 by 20 is what you would get in a bad location for the cheapest form of lodging. Of course, if you cut it in half, remove this desk and top half, maybe shove the desk down to here, or a little table somewhere here, basically cutting it like so, that would be in a good location. You can rent a thing like this for how much? Scrolling back down. Here we are. Yeah, 10 by 20 in a standard location for 20 credits a day. And then there's, of course, not really the highest, the highest listed, which is like luxury, 500 credits a day, 100 by 100 in a standard location, 50 by 50 in a valued location, or 40 by 40 in a high valued location and all that. It'll be another minute before the coffee's ready. So, of course, there's all sorts of in between. That's the two listed cheapest in luxury. Of course, there's cheap, common, good, excellent, and then luxury. Well, there's cheapest, cheap, common, good, excellent, and luxury. And they don't, unfortunately, track over. Of course, something else I should take into account. Under the nation rules, it's not something I should take account under the nation rules. There's something I should take under account, comma. In the nation rules, there's a chart for buying property. Technically, it's under the organization rules. Nations and organizations use similar rules, so they're stored in the same book. But there's a little chart there that basically goes, here's how much you can buy a square for. Somewhere. Here, ideally. Oh gosh. Oh gosh, it's worse than I thought. I suppose that one's out of date. A half lot. Buying, well, I suppose it's buying property. But a half lot, which is 50 by 50 feet, will cost you 125,000 to 2,500,000. And that is also before modifiers. In the other book, interesting. Well, one lot is up to 5 million for a full lot. 5 million in the other one, well, let's see, 250,000 to 5 million. On the other chart, that equates to literally a wide range. It's not ideal. That post that needs some work in its chart to make it more unified and equal between the two. I'll add it to the list of things to do. Then again, the lots there don't include certain factors, and technically those are business lots, like you're buying a lot for business. Well, this one's just buying a house. I suppose the price of the house comes into play, while the other one, the lot does not necessarily contain building per se. It gets complicated. Anyway, let's see. So we spend 6 hours wandering the tower, asking people a lot of questions, finding few answers. It's not the best, not ideal. Let's see. So, after trying to gather information, what do we get? We'll ask a fun question to the bot and ask it, what do we get? And we're going to do this the easy way, so I'm not really going to display it, but I'm going to roll on the chart. I'd have to open the file in a different thing to get the chart to be visible, and I don't feel like going through all that trouble. Let me make sure I'm rolling this right. The chart needs to be rolled in a specific way. Start with a d10 and a d6. A roll of a 6 on the d6 is 0, and we rolled a 6, so that's 0. Okay. And next, a d8 and a d10. Hmm. Oh, see, now I want to display it. Ah, okay. We'll do the little extra work. This, of course, will take a moment. As I said, it is a bit more work than the other way. Okay. Go like that. Like so. I suppose we need the second one before we even contemplate doing this. Because it's always two images. Okay. It's not always. We can do what we want. But, you know. Okay. No. It's not a no. I'm trying to remember how the rule works. Oh. Okay. So that's our first number. And here's our second. That is a reroll. Okay. Now we just need to find it. Interesting. Very interesting. Have to select it, which is actually harder than you think. Um, there. That should work. Make sure I did that right. Okay. Try not to lose my place, which is not ideal, but easy to do. Try and select the right one. Bring it over to here. I'm sensing a theme of information we do get. And that theme is, strangely enough, somewhat an answer, just not a useful one, I suppose, because we didn't roll good enough. But we do get something related to what we were searching for, more than likely. Or maybe it's not. We'll have to interpret, but I'll display it before we, you know, do that. Okay. To display it, we're going to have to go to here, pop that open. Why did it reset? Did it reset? Hopefully. Nope, looks like it might have. Okay. I'm going to place it up here, by the way. But that means I need to go to here. This is why I didn't want to do this. Because it's extra work for like basically nothing. Yeah, well. Almost there. Come on, finish loading. Today, ideally. Please. And it's frozen. That's great. It'll be a moment. I'm going to grab my coffee then. It's not done. Unfortunate. Is it done crashing? No? Great. Okay. Can it be done crashing, though? No? Okay. So, what we rolled was a picture of a bulletproof vest and a picture of what looks like a turret. Interpretations abound. As they likely say, they did see government forces or heard about the government forces. That's my guess, because picture of body armor, picture of turret, who are we fighting in this particular place? Government forces. They likely bring up what happened, but nothing we don't know. You know, as we haven't succeeded to check, they're likely talking about, ah, yes, there was a fight here. There were people in armor, and there was a battle here. That's what we'll interpret that as. Nothing useful and nothing interesting. I mean, I suppose it's somewhat interesting, but it's not like I was hoping we'd generate some random interesting thing that we learn about. But no, it's just talk about our event. They mention it. And it's still not loaded, so we just won't be able to use that. Okay, cool. Um, so we gain very little from the people as we walk around for, like 6 hours, basically asking if anybody knows what happened to the troops. The best we get is some people saying, oh yeah, there was a firefight up there. We saw some people in armor arrive. And then, suspiciously look at Juliana Aldis, who's wearing the same heavy combat armor she was here in. Not everybody was there. It's not like they saw. There were some people outside, but, rumors spread that people in armor were doing stuff here. And then somebody in armor shows up and is asking, anything suspicious happen here with people fighting or something? You know? So, um, unfortunately, we're not able to get anything of significant progress in that. What are the rules? We can theoretically try again for a number of more hours. Do we really want to do that? Spend more hours asking around here? We'll go upstairs. We'll go to the site. Assuming we can find Juliana Aldous. There we are. In fact, we'll look around. Before we head to the site, we'll look around for a character we know. We'll go and find the old man. What's his name? Half a second. This we can find easy, so we will. We'll go and, spend a day or two. We'll meet with the old man. Istor Delta. The gambler. We have a sheet for him, actually, sort of a NPC sheet, not a full character sheet, but is it under stored? Should be here. No, it's up here, isn't it? Unless we stored it. Here we are. There's his sheet. Istor Delta. Old, brave, gambler. Old, brave gambler whose archetype is mediator. His primary attribute is mind, and he is dedicated. Okay. Yeah, we'll go meet with Istor Delta. Ask him if he's seen anything new. I mean, he lives here. Was there anything involving the people or anything like that when we left? So we'll ask the bot, does Istor Delta have any information on the events? And this is a bot yes, no, so it's real easy to roll here. Chaos? Yes. Now, does he have any information? We'll add a +4 because, I mean, all he does is gamble here and gather information in here, gossip. So, we'll add a +4. So 2 on chaos, which is yes now. 2, 5. 11, because 2 and 5, 7 plus 4 is 11, which is yes. It's actually a barely yes. It's a yes but. So yes, he has information, but he doesn't have all the facts. Also, no chaos because that's a 2 and a 5, which means even though we rolled chaos, it doesn't activate an effect. So, he has some information on what happened. Let's see. He'll basically say, yeah, there was, he heard from people in the top section of the arcology that a ship did show up on the top side, on the roof. Some people who were near the roof reported one of his buddies, specifically, who likes smoking on the roof of the arcology, which is far above ground, goes up there to smoke sometimes, basically saw the ship land. There was a bit of a kerfuffle from some people who live at the top of the ecology, which is slightly more fancy. There's some sort of gang bosses who live up there in sort of like penthouse sections. Anyway, there was a bit of kerfuffle between them and the forces, at least his friend said so. His friend hid the minute he saw the. I mean, he didn't hide when the ship landed, but when the troops came out and then the gangsters showed up, his buddy sort of then decided to hide behind a some sort of cooling structure or vent structure at the top of the thing. But his buddy says, yeah, showed up. Other people had a bit of a fight with them, not like it was a gunfight. The gang backed down when the forces apparently threatened them with government action, and by that, sending in a full task force to burn them out and the like. So the gang backed down. The people who were in there came up, all survivors, that is, and talked with them. At that point, he decided to make himself scarce. So nothing too much other than, yeah, there was a meeting. Other reports indicate the gang was upset, of course, that one of their top landing pads was sort of stolen. Not really stolen, they left shortly after. But after a while, reports are another ship arrived. Another one. Government. This one dropped off forces. They didn't fight. This isn't from his buddy, but they didn't fight the gang. There was no reports of gunfire or combat or anything. But they were seen moving into the building with some forces and supplies, a couple of ships. Not the ships landing in, but, like dropping people and some supplies. They went to the section that the battle happened for a short while before leaving. They didn't leave via the ships. They left via the ground exit. It's unknown whether, I mean, people have been avoiding that section since the gunfight for the most part. So, unknown the full situation in that area that the gunfight happened. But they don't think that there's anybody there. I mean, people were coming, going for a little while. Few ships, few people. By few, I mean, like several squads. Not all of them seemed, they all seemed government. Not all of them seemed military. Some of them looked more civilian in role. And they did ask questions. They asked a lot of questions. Some people did around the arcology afterwards. But they did, after a while, depart. They didn't go door to door, which is, I mean, a high value target was taken. One might expect them to go door to door, but we know that they don't really want to start a war in their place. If they anger the gangs, things get bad for them. It's not like they couldn't fight the gangs, but like they already massacred one gang, and they don't want to turn this section of the city against them. Like if all the gangs start being angered by them, it's going to be difficult for them. So, I mean, they're at war. They don't really want to send in all the forces, but it's quite a situation. You learn all this will thank the gambler. Let's see, what do we have? Despite the gambler's protests, Istor Delta will pay him for the information. And totally not as an excuse to get this uneven number out of our inventory. Definitely not. We'll give him 256 credits for that information. Could that buy us quite a few mags? Yes. Not of the expensive rounds. It's like $80 for the normal rounds. So it could buy us like what, 2, 3, something like that. But we'll give it to Istor Delta, $256. I mean, we did sort of drag him into a firefight last time with no benefit. You know, not really into the firefight, but still, it was dangerous and risky. We brought him with us, and he sort of followed along, but we'll give him 256 credits. And thank him for the information before I check my coffee. 1 second. Yeah, should be prepared. Okay. Let's see. So, knowing that there are forces here, sort of like, you know, once more, I'm not being sarcastic when I say this, even though it might sound a little sarcastic. That's what I like about tabletop RPGs. Yeah, we spent 6 in-game hours, not real hours, of course, but 6 in-game hours walking around asking the local populace before we realized we do have a friend here. We were able to go, ask our friend. He did have information, not the most clear of information. They don't know where they went. They don't know exactly what was going on. But rumors from his buddies, because he has gambling buddies and like, rumors from his friends about what went down there. Even though we failed one check, we were able to find a friend, get some information from him. Because just because you fail a check doesn't mean that the information is lost to you. There are plenty of other ways to go about and get that information because there would be in real life. Just because you're not getting benefit asking around, maybe ask a specific person, maybe go over to a play. There's many ways to get this kind of stuff. So now we have information. At least some. We could, like, there's many ways to approach this. Like I said, like if we had a forensics kit and like, or a team, like a team that's good at that kind of thing, we could gather clues and details and sort of send in the data and be like, who was here? Might be able to run them through a database. Maybe we find out that the name of some of the enemy government troops, if they weren't wearing their gloves, some of them, like combat forces might have been, but as there were civilians that were suspicious and asking questions, maybe they might not have been wearing gloves. Maybe they have fingerprints. Maybe we get data on them. There's many ways to approach this. Unfortunately, we don't have an evidence kit or a team ready to run things through a database. So we personally can't. But my point is, in Galactic Requiem, anything's viable. Like I've been over. You could run a business. You could just be a business runner. Or, just because everybody's mercenaries, you could be the science person who can run things in the background, plan, which there's also an ability plan, which gives you bonuses in combat and so forth, or even just the one who asks questions and all that. Plenty of ways to solve everything. 1 second, that was not ideal at all whatsoever. What the hell? That is the strangest. That was annoying. Anyway, sorry about that. So, where was I? Yeah, different ways to solve everything. So now that we have some information from Isol Delta, we've given him a bit of cash. Let's, I really want. I know what I need. I know what I need. Okay, so here's what the plan is. We do need data, and we're on a lead. We have a lead-ish. We know that they left and have entered the city proper. Like, there were people here, they were looking around trying to find the target. That's a guess, by the way. They were here trying to find the target, figure out what happened. How did the team lose the target? Um, we'll, of course, radio, or, FTL-linked comms device. Technically, we're just using the standard relay, to be honest. It's not like we're using the, I mean, technically it's still, like, loosely? Not really. They're like, what, 5, 10 kilometers? What's the range on this thing? Can we direct connect? That's genuinely why I'm going over this, by the way. I want to know whether I can direct connect to our allies' computers. I don't want to broadcast over the net. While there are, certain privacy laws and all that in space, we are going against the local government force. I'd rather not leave a trail, you know? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's not ideal to broadcast over unencrypted, well, I mean, it's still encrypted, but a net that the government can just be like, oh, hey, a transmission involving this data. And, when they put their fucking super AI on it, not ideal. So, I want to know how far we can connect. For that, we gotta just open all. You done crashing, friend? You done? Good, thank you. It has finished crashing. Maybe the crash in the event we rolled was the file searcher. No, it's not, but Okay. High network relay from a basic relay device is built into a datapad. High relay has a maximum distance of 60 kilometers, technically hostable out of a datapad. It is, however, a high relay, not a low or local. Low and local relay has 1 kilometer range, give or take. High relay has 60-kilometer range, give or take, but technically we can still direct connect with it, which is good enough. I'm not too worried about a single high relay broadcast being found that's only going to be a few seconds long, you know? Now, of course, I wouldn't like host a server on a high relay talking about, oh yes, we have the target and all that. That'd be a poor choice. Maybe on a local relay or a low relay, sure. It's not really a difference between local and low relay, I'll be honest. Really no difference between local and low. But there is between those and high. So, you know, I'll send a message because it's technically within range. Send it to my mercenary allies. Basically say the the government was searching for the target. They showed up at the location. Well, I'll be a bit more vague. I'll say, hmm. We'll just basically say officials search for target. basically informing them that the officials are searching for the target, and will inform them that laying low is ideal. And to basically be prepared for that. More info on return. When we get back and all that. Just as brief as possible. We'll have our AI figure out how to do it. We have an AI in our brain, of course. And have that sent off as just a very quick datapad to datapad high transmission. From there, let's see. The thought I was having before I went off on a different direction was money. We need galactic standard credits. I know, I say that right. I gave 256 credits. It's not a lot. 256 credits is fine. I mean, we need like millions. Of course, we need millions. Everybody needs millions of Galactic Standard credits. I mean, of course, we want 1 billion Galactic Standard credits. Point is, like, we need credits to buy things. All sorts of things. Programs for hacking. And feats and skill training and all that kind of stuff. We need lots of credits. We need to take jobs for credits. Risky. We're doing another contract. But it's literally just to lay low. Ooh, we can even use it as a cover. We can use it as a cover. Consider. I understand that they might know that we're here. They might even be able to have gone back and seen us, theoretically. They might be able to go back and have seen us here before, if there's data archives and all that. You don't really have a hacker to handle that. But if they know we were here, and they know that we did it, and theoretically they know that we're here again, consider. Sure, if they have that data, they might more than easily, probably, depending, can track us back to our base. Maybe. It's a possibility. If we don't return to base, and they don't have the old data but have data now, they won't know where our base is. So returning to base might be a bad idea. Next idea, if they do even have both sets of info, if they have one set of info, if they have our latest visit here, if we take other contracts, we can say we're a local mercenary. We take contracts everywhere, all around. We're not related to any individual mission. It might make us easier to track, maybe. But if we don't return to base, or if there's no way for them to track us, it might throw them off the trail. Maybe. What do I care, though? I mean, a little bit. I don't want Juliana Aldis to die, and Juliana Aldis doesn't want to die. But also, Juliana Aldis really wants money and revenge. And I mean, she doesn't dislike the local government she's working against. She has no personal hatred with them. They're working with a different government that she does hate. And so, I mean, if that local government wants these people to succeed, causing them trouble, it's just a win, especially if it's for money. Yeah, you all know all this is a little petty when it comes to the government that she absolutely despises. She'll rationalize most of that as an excuse to earn some money. But, like, I mean, not in general, but specifically given her past, she hates the her homeworld government. Not this planet, of course. She's on a different world. But, I mean, her home was unified. This world isn't. But if they're working with the faction here, then, I mean, she's against the faction here. So, might as well take advantage of that. I suppose that gives us reason to contact our contact. Merc Networker. I mean, are Merc Networkers not going to be happy that we're taking multiple contracts? But it's not like he will care too much. So we'll contact him. And yes, we're using HiNet, not HiNet, full on transmitting through other transmitters. But, I don't care. Not like because, I mean, it's not like we're sending information that's of value. We're contacting somebody who just gives jobs to mercs, and we're looking for jobs unrelated. So, absolutely no worry in that regard. Suppose we should roll to see whether we can get in contact. I mean, there's almost no chance of failure, assuming, like the networks and all that. Like, there's no chance that they'll, I mean, unless we roll a 1 or a 9. Not unless we roll a 9. We've rolled a 9, which means what? What is our networking? None. So, -1, 8, plus 9, 10. I believe that should be 10. Let me double check. Otherwise, I might have gotten it wrong, and that would be terrible. Does that not provide a modifier? That's weird. Oh, it does. It's a different kind of modifier. Okay. So it is 9, but with a different modifier. Okay. So that is a 9 versus 30, which sounds, well, -5. So 25. A 9 versus 25. Now, if you're thinking that we've failed that roll, under normal circumstances, you'd be absolutely right. Like that would be a absolutely failed roll by multiple degrees. Like bad things would happen. Luckily, the way contacts work is for every point you fail the DC, contact takes an additional amount of time equal to their summon time to contact. Meaning, our contact will get back to us in like 16 hours. Put the word out, and they'll get to us in 16 hours. So, Elders will have to wait before she's able to get in contact with a person who can get her stuff. Actually, technically, we can half that, I'll be honest. Because we're not technically making a request. It's not like we're like, hey, we need something. We're only like, hey, do you have anything you need done for money? So we can technically have that to like 8 hours. But then we'll be able to get a job. Until then, let's see. Do we want to risk going back up to the right floor that it all went down on? We're already at the building. It's not like it's... No, we're not going to risk going back up to that floor. Just in case. We'll simply... We'll check our equipment and then we'll leave. We need more money. Our weapons are set. What I wouldn't give for a few grenades. I'd give 1,000 Galactic Standard credits for a few grenades. I kind of want to get a shotgun just for fun. Specifically, normally, I don't like shotguns. I prefer rifles. But, shotguns, in Galactic Requiem for the most part, have a little ability. They have a few abilities. Shotguns have far cheaper, varied ammo. For instance, if I wanted to do cold damage, cryonic damage and the like, I just can't do that with my laser rifle. Not really. Not without copious amounts of money. You could theoretically do that with a standard assault rifle, with bullets and the like, but it would cost a lot. Doing it with a shotgun would cost very little. Shotguns in Galactic Requiem, the one benefit they have is ammo and variance is vast. Everything has vast variance in its ammo, but like it's cheap. You can get cheap shotgun shells of a varied nature, while it's more expensive to get cheap. It's more expensive to get varied ammo for every other weapon. And then for dedicated weapons, it's exceptionally difficult to get special ammo. For like a laser rifle or a plasma rifle, you're not going to get special ammo for it more than likely. Like, yeah, AP cells, sure. Something that does specialty damage, not really going to happen. I mean, you can, it's just prohibitively expensive. I mean, as you've seen, AP cells cost like several hundred. It was like, what was it like? It was 80 plus 600% or something like that. For a total of like $560 per mag of armor piercing laser rounds. Like, everything's just slight. I mean, it's roughly that expensive for bullet weapon. It's a little bit cheaper, but like, point is, like, it's far cheaper for shotguns, and that's not even specialty ammo. That's just like technically standard. Specialty ammo is like special effects and the like. And you know what else would be fun? Make things useful. Wouldn't be useful against hardened targets, but a dazer. A dazer's like a taser, except it blinds, deafens, and stuns. Could use it for bounty hunting and the like. Doesn't permanently blind, of course, but, you know. Also, it's worthless for fighting troops. Assuming you have standard combat armor, it's worthless, because your standard combat armor is 99% likely to have the basic modification that is prevent that. Like, if you have life support, which we do in ours, by the way, if you have life support, it's basically included that a dazer won't work on you. Because life support is assumed that it'll work in space, and thus it can immediately dim to stop you from going blind, from looking at the sun and sounds and all that kind of stuff. So, but against just a civilian in like normal clothes, assuming they're not augmented cybernetically and the like, then again, that would be special augments. It's not really special augments, but like it's dedicated augments. Your average individual is not going to have augments that prevent a dazer from working. Well, you know, like if you're fighting a super soldier, even if they're not in like powered armor or something, a daze is probably not going to work on them because of all the augments they have. So it's really, you know, speaking of, that's another reason why we need money. If we can get more credits, we can get augmented hella. I mean, look, our only augment is a neural data pad. There are so many augments. Look, all I'm saying is biology will fail you. Embrace the purity of the machine. So, you know, like, who needs all this biology? I mean, we already have a neural data pad. While expensive, I mean, just upload our brain into the net. And then, you know, like, right back down into the original body. But I mean, like, you know, get it so it's uploadable. And then, you know, make a backup copy, which is ridiculously expensive. But, you know, make a backup. Of course, you know, without a proper plan, it's going to be exceptionally expensive. You'd have one backup stuck in time. And by that, I mean, like, you know, the memory is only from when you make the backup of there. If you want constant updates, that's an entire package. And you'll have to spend so much money, like millions of credits, probably more than millions. I'd have to open my book and find it. But just uploading, cheap. Buying replacement bodies, depending on how you want them, debatably cheap. Of course, quality matters. We've been over this. Like, of course, I can buy a backup as an Imperial Law, many actually, but you know, different variants, all that kind of stuff. But you know, for your average galactic citizen, it's expensive. So's life extension. Doesn't have to be expensive, but corporations, you know? So, yeah, we need money for that. You know, all this should be backed up, of course. If the thought crossed your mind, hey, Lord Basilius of the Empire, Imperial Lord, one who keeps saying you can draw 10 billion galactic standard credits for basically no consequence from your own nation. Why don't you fund that? Because I don't care that much. Also, it's not a tax deductible withdrawal. It's not like I can write that off like as a charity donation. Look, I have imperial things to fund. I'd rather give that to a conscript worthy of payment. Also, questions get asked. And then, people look at the multidimensional device I have. By people, I mean Imperial leadership. And they start asking questions like, why are you helping non-Imperials? Are you altering fate? Are you using this power to alter fate even though it's not directly, indirectly? Like questions get asked. Also, there's absolutely no guarantee that Juliana Aldous isn't anti-imperial. And it's just full of problems. And I don't care that much. The fun is watching non-imperials go about their lives and possibly die. That's the joy of it. We get to look down on the non-imperials and the imperials. We can theoretically follow around imperials. But, watching people who aren't lords, imperial lords, go around living their lives in the galaxy. Where's the fun in interfering in that? We're not evil, by the way. Definitely not. The Empire is good and such. We're not evil. Probably. Despite what the galaxy says. And Imperial Lords are definitely, very much not distant nobility that is willing to watch billions of citizens of the galaxy die for entertainment purposes. It's not like Imperial Lords. Imperial Lords definitely don't engage in petty wars with other Imperial Lords, costing the lives of millions and billions of other Imperial citizens. Definitely not. It's not like we in the Empire host war games with other Imperial Lords that we even like. It's not like we host war games with other Imperial Lords that we're on the side of that involve actual casualties as part of the baked in training process of these war games. Definitely not. We're definitely the good guys. I assure you. I mean, we are, but But we've already had a rant about that. So I won't subject you to my musings on how the Empire is a bastion of civilization amongst the chaos of the galaxy, bringing technology, peace, and unification to all, holding back eldritch menaces and multidimensional forces, bringing light to all, and how within the Empire, and all that. Yes. Um. So a shotgun would be nice. What special ability did I give them other than that? Now I'm curious because I want to remember. Every weapon got a special ability because because well, how do I put this? Assault rifles are good. Assault rifles are the best. They are simply the best. Like, consider. If you're like, no, they're not, consider. What is the primary rifle? Well, I say rifle, that's the thing. Let's retry this. What is the primary infantry weapon of a modern military? The primary infantry weapon of a modern military is a rifle, usually a rifle with an automatic setting. It can be switched to non-automatic, but usually with an automatic setting. There's a reason for this, because they are the standard. They are versatile and good at what they do. They have good range, they have good capacity, they have the ability to work in multiple roles. You can theoretically suppress with them, you can lay down fire, you can switch them to fire single shots accurately. They are the standard method for a reason, because they are the best. However, we here understand that players, as we roll our eyes, we understand, as wrong as they are, players like revolvers. Players like shotguns. Players like SMGs. Players like pistols. Players like these things. So, yes, while we roll our eyes and say, of course, yes, you enjoy these things, but assault rifles are just superior. Not in every case, of course, but like in the vast majority of cases. Of course, firing long distance, you probably want a marksman rifle or a sniper rifle or something. Of course, we understand that. And when breaching, a shotgun has a bit of versatility, and pistols have versatility in certain sidearms, and, we understand this. But in general situations, so, we have special abilities that we've applied to these things. Assuming I can quickly find them, because I want to remember what the shotgun's special ability is. Please stop crashing. Okay, we never added the gun combat feats, I don't think, because I didn't think they were ideal. They had problems, so I don't think we added those. Yeah, we didn't. Okay. So, we do have the specialty feats, however, but the file's not loading because it hates being useful when it should. So let's go over to our backup file. Another reason to have backup files, they're far easier to open because they don't rely on complex loading things. Here we are, shotguns. We gave them KEN4 and BLD1. And any injury or bleed has -2 to treat, which is pretty nice. By the way, so KEN4 means that the shotgun has +4 to proc injury rolls. A normal rifle is +2. A shotgun has +4. I believe not just a normal rifle, any gun has +2 to proc injury rolls. While the shotgun has a +4 to proc injury rolls. And, I accidentally clicked off of it. One bleed, and any injured bleed is harder to treat. So that's the benefits of the shotgun. Making them, while they do technically, usually, on average, less damage than a space rifle, usually, you're going to have a higher chance of injuring your target if you hit them. Injuring being all those effects that are like, congrats, you now have a -2 to using your arm. You now have a minus all the way up to a -4 in using things. on checks in regards to it. Also, a bad enough injury procs those rolls where you can get all sorts of terrible events like unconscious, knocked unconscious for a certain amount of rounds, arm loss, etc., etc. So more in that, also bleeding and, like I said, treating injury. But, and more versatile ammo. Should be nice to use. That'd be fun. I mean, since we're here. SMGs, by the way, don't get special benefits, unlike all other weapons. Well, and the assault rifle. I believe. No. Yeah, no, SMGs don't get a special. The reason for that, actually, is because SMGs have their own benefit. The benefit of an SMG is it is usually considered a smaller weapon, meaning you can dual wield them, theoretically. Also, not only that, they're easily concealable, but they also have automatic and select. So usually they gain the benefits of an assault rifle just with shorter range, but more concealable, and you can theoretically have multiple of, like, you can theoretically dual wield them. They're easier to conceal, and basically they also work with the first feat of, like, not high ready, but the one that lets you get automatic like stuff. So they're basically already almost, I mean, practically, given the upsides, they're on par with assault rifles. So we didn't really give them any special benefit. They do less damage usually, but you can carry two of them, theoretically. Not always, some of them are big, but they're like half the benefits of a pistol, half the benefits of an assault rifle. So they're already good enough, given the way automatic fire works. And yeah, you can have an automatic shotgun, theoretically speaking, but you know. And of course, semi-automatic weapons have their own special ability. Specifically, semi-automatic pistols and revolvers, you can take, if you have the martial art that specializes in them, you can gain weapon mastery with them, which you usually can't get with ranged weapons, which is pretty good. It means you can do a lot more damage and all that, and accuracy and so forth. And you may make a combined unarmed plus ranged attack as a half action. And revolvers automatically get a +1 in quick draw. And of course, we didn't forget about snipers. Sharpshooter is a feat you can get that specifically specializes in semi-automatic long arms, except for not shotguns and the like, specifically for things that are supposed to be exceptionally accurate. Decreases cover, and when you make a ranged attack against an opponent whose size grants them a bonus defense, their size bonus is decreased by half, rounded down. You also get a +2 to offset range penalties on called shots, and +1 sneak attack die against unaware targets. So basically, every weapon has its own special. Of course, this larger weapons don't get this, don't get specials. I mean, a machine gun just gets the benefits of an automatic, so many automatic fire feats, so it's good enough. They're exceptionally good. Of course, heavier weapons don't gain benefits. They're literally heavier weapons. Why? Why would I make rocket launchers better? They'll kill you in one shot anyway. There's no point. There's no point. The benefit of heavier weapons is obviously their heavier nature. But unlike standard like D20 Modern, you don't need a special proficiency for 90% of these. You don't need special proficiency to use rocket launchers. Yes, people can fail at using rocket launchers, yeah. But if you can use an assault rifle. It's really not that much. I mean, yeah, the safety procedures and some differences, but it's not like you need a whole nother feat's worth of training to use a heavy weapon. You know, they generally design them to be relatively easy to use. There's a reason why the RPG 7 that you Elysians have is everywhere, because they're relatively easy to use. It's less than a 5-minute instruction read to use an RPG 7. You can probably use one without reading the instructions, but it's less than a 5-minute read to figure out the basics of using an RPG. So, like, you don't really need an entire feat full of exotic weapon proficiency to use an RPG. We also view the same on starships. Now, unless we do have rules in regards to, this weapon. Yes, it's an assault rifle, but it's built by aliens. So, yeah, you'd need a proficiency for that. But, as long as it's built by, I say aliens, let's be honest. When I say aliens, I mean aliens that are vastly different. If it's built by the reptilian consortium, who are primarily humanoid, then you can probably use it without a feat. You can use it like a standard Terran weapon. If it's built by the Enster, no, you need a feat for that because you probably can't comprehend even the basics of it, if you can even use it. Let's be honest, if it's an Enster weapon, you probably can't even use it. Enster, by the way, are four-legged, spider-like, I mean, semi-spider-like. They got 4 legs. They are a sort of three-dimensional, not really hexagon. I forget how I described them. I think the semi-hexagonal. The one body structure. It's one sphere, not really a sphere, but like one section. 4 legs protruding, 4 little holes in the top of its center mass that little tendrils come out of. They don't really have hands. They don't really have faces. Like the Enster? Let me put it this way. The Enster don't even talk. The Enster communicate with lights and electromagnetic communication. You can't even usually see when an Enster is talking to another Enster if you're not like augmented. And basically, how do they manipulate things? With those 4 little tendrils that come out of the main carapace. They don't really use their legs for that. They use those for ripping things to shreds. They also use the tendrils for ripping things to shreds. The 4 tendrils, by the way, and the little holes that the tendrils come out of, is technically like the mouth of the Enster, if you want to be technical. They're mostly sealed. That's where they eat. They don't like chew or anything. They don't really have like faces. They're just 4 little holes that tendrils come out of. And they use those tendrils to rip apart their prey into small little bits. They are sentient. They are a sentient species. They are technologically advanced. Specifically, the Enster are specialists in biotechnology. So, like, I say they don't talk, they can. They bioengineer themselves. They bioengineer everything. But the natural, probably, form of an Enster is that, as described. It's believed so, at least. I mean, our records say so, and our records are the best. So, But I believe, if I recall, they're like a very guild, house based society. Each one focuses on different, like, not different, like, they focus on a variety of different ones each, but like heavy biotech focus. And it's not like they fight on the field, that is. Like, as horrifying as it is to many groups, The Enstare use bioweapons, bioplagues, genetically engineered things, and then if they are winning, they'll use the populace of wherever they are, wherever they're invading, wherever they're fighting, as new templates that they'll modify in horrific ways. So, that's always fun. But, I mean, that's the thing. The Enstare only view Enstare life as valuable. So, on on the level of how evil the Empire is, remember, there's also the Enstare. So, when in doubt, remember, we're not the Enstare. So there's always that. Um, Also, like, other than that, like, what was I going to say? There was something else about the Enstare. There's lots of different aliens. Not all of them are major nations, but there's plentiful lesser nation aliens out there. Countless, even. And, well, technically, if we're being technical, Terrans, that's humans by your standards, are the most common area-wise, as in territory control. Terrans are the most common, more than likely. Um, they're not the most numerous. I believe that's the insectoids, because, well, species-wise, they have many different categories of creatures in their nation that are sentient from also different scales. Like, also, even if you count the non-sentient ones and then working devices, because they also do heavily biotech. Like, Insta aren't the only ones who do biotech. Lots of the insectoid nations do biotech. Not all insectoids do biotech, though. Hell, not all Enstare do biotech. Oh, that's what I was going to bring up about the Enstare. They're ridiculously strong. Like, they're not exceptionally large, but they're ridiculously strong, generally due to all that, just naturally, but also due to all their genetic engineering and bioengineering and all that. It's not something you want to fight. Like, an Enstare, let me put it this way. If you had 5 people without armor and one Enstare, that Enstare is winning. If those people don't have weapons, like, that Enstare is winning. Even if the Enstare doesn't have weapons, like, of course, if the Enstare has weapons, it's just going to fire a radiation gun at them. But, the Enstare are also one of the nations that mains, other than just biotech, they use plasma weapons, but they also use gravity weapons and biological warfare, gravity weapons, and radiation weaponry, which is always fun. That's not a war crime. It isn't. The Galactic Council has strict definitions of what is and isn't allowed in war. Crazily enough, most things are. I mean, there are certain standards of war. The Empire, of course, follows certain standards, but, like, you know, we don't, we're not from your Earth or Elysia. We don't have such rules of warfare and the like. But, every society has their own little sub rules and cultural norms. For instance, Imperial Lords don't kill Imperial Lords. It's not like it's some weird Imperial Lords can't kill Imperial Lord. It's a social faux pas for an Imperial Lord to have another Imperial Lord killed. It's socially not a thing that we do. You can, but, people look at you and be like, what? They're an Imperial Lord, you know? Now, also Imperial citizens have rights, as we went over the other day. And, just there's standards and all that that ought to be followed. We've gone off topic. We're supposed to be running a game. I mean, since we're here, um, so yeah, like different nations specialize in different things to a degree. It's not like you can't find other things within a nation that specializes. It's just their, you know, cultural, what they primarily equip their government forces with. You can find ends there with projectile weapons and standard technology. You can, but it's just not like something they field on a wide national scale. And, you know, like I said with the insectoids, they use biotech, but they also use standard tech. It's not like they can't. Then like rules of war, the ends there don't follow any guidelines. They do entirely what they want. The Empire follows its own guidelines, but also does whatever it wants. The only like big ones, by the way, like council, not the faction, but the organization approved, are like generally relating to the size of starships. And by that I mean like there's rules limiting dreadnoughts and superweapon use. Superweapons and dreadnoughts have loose limitation of use, basically. Like you can't use them in certain cases and so forth. Same with nova weaponry. Nova weaponry is basically a bomb with roughly a the ability, the device. It doesn't make a star go nova. It has basically a device with the contained power of a star going nova. You use it to end a star system because pretty much everything in that star system is gone. There's also tactical nova weaponry, which is just same power, less of it, smaller scale. Nova weaponry, by the way, is used because, I mean, it's restricted in use. It's mostly used in emergency situations, not like war situations. Yeah, in Galactic Wars, we did use them a few times and so forth. But they're mostly used as a safety function, if you will. Not even a mutually assured destruction safety part thing. As I'm sure you've heard me mention before, Yogg-Sothoth and Azathoth, you know? Like, there are certain things out there, like rogue nanite swarms and eldritch monstrosities. Sometimes you just need to use the power of a star going nova, you know, and then the situation corrects itself. Doesn't always, but that's what strange energy's for. Usually nova weapons are supplemented with strange energy so they can deal with such things. There's different types of energy. Strange energy is basically just a form of generalized strange energy that usually, there are different variants of it, works on eldritch things and ghosts and that kind of thing. And yeah, there are ghosts. It's not like they're common. I think we've been over this. Civilized space, the core nations have a lack of weird magical stuff. The further north you go, the more strange magical stuff you'll find. If you go west, you'll find some magical stuff. For instance, the Zerlon Empire, different, not related to the Empire. The Zerlons, demon worshippers. They love summoning demons and all that, and they're on the edge of eldritch territory. Lots of messed up space with rifts and all that. The Zerlons, I mean, if you want a rough example of what they are, they're any species really. They're power structures very anarchic, very feudal, very anarchic. They're technically an empire, and it's literally just strength-based for the most part. I suppose for you Elysians, the best way to think of it is very much well, like can't really think of an example. They're they're not unified. If you're wondering how do they run if they're anarchic, they're not unified. It's very power-based. If you have forces, you're probably in charge. Like they fight amongst themselves. It's not ideal. That's the bright side. It's not ideal. It's not like they're a unified force. They're very bad at what they do. They're chaotic evil, if you will. We don't really have those alignments. We here consider everything normal, like it's world. So we consider like just people are neutral, if you will. Like there's no alignment. Do what you want. Are you a good person? Do good stuff. You know, it's not alignment. Of course, certain entities, generally magical entities, technically can have alignment, and it matters. Same with magic. But that's rare cases. As mentioned, magic and that kind of stuff isn't common in civilized space. Anyway, we're rambling far too much. Let's award some XP and go. Next time's World Building Wednesday, we can ramble then, literally like tomorrow. We'll give ourselves 1 XP. Okay. We'll ramble tomorrow on Solo Sunday, which is on Friday. We'll make progress. We'll actually roll the dice and do stuff more. My apologies. This is labeled as a solo tabletop RPG stream, but we did a bit of rambling, but you know. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed. Next time, World Building Wednesday. And we'll do some world building and a little bit of rambling, but mostly world building. Okay. Once more, my apologies. This is going into the Solo Sunday playlist, even though it's ramble heavy, because we made some progress. I'll try and ramble less and make sure I don't do it on these streams. I'll save that for some World Building Wednesdays. Not every World Building Wednesday. We'll do our best to world build on World Building Wednesdays, but we'll save the rambling for some of those, you know? And theoretically, by next Monday, we should have our next news video out. I do need to finish our lore video series too, so there's lots of work to do. I also, of course, as mentioned, need to work on all the other stuff. So, if you want to know what I'll be doing, I'll be attending Imperial meetings, as always. I do run an Imperial nation, after all, you know? 3-star systems that always need something done. I suppose I could delegate. Some lords delegate absolutely completely, but I like getting reports, you know? And then there's Imperial gatherings to attend. You know, that so little tangent. Life as a lord, while it is involving ridiculous wealth and all that, there's a lot of fancy parties that have to be attended. Obligations, social obligations, if you will. You know, you have to meet with other Imperial lords, talk about the war effort. Oh, how are you doing? Oh, I see that you've got these new paintings. Where did you import them from? Lots of fancy gatherings, meetings, feasts, that kind of thing. And you have to sort of attend them if you want good relations with other Imperial lords and all that. Then there's the working on Galactic Requiem. And then there's the working on all the projects and all that. So, see you next time.